know. I'm not good at giving the answer, or I'm not good at defining the record. I always sort of default to why Tegan wanted to call it The Con, which appealed to me at the time. And for me, like, when I was writing the record, I was, like, writing it about, like, my life, and I had just, like, bought a place, and I was, like, there was a lot of, like, late nights where I was, like, I live in Montreal, and everything is in French, and I was, like, a lot of nights where I was, like, up reading documents in French, and I was, like, thinking about how, like, so many people think about when they like a musician, or they like a band, or an actor, or whatever, you're just, like, you kind of, I do it, too, like, I imagine people's lives being so different than probably how they really are, like, even being, like, today in Malibu, it's, like, you're just like, God, it would be so cool to live in Malibu and, like, surf and have a chef and stuff. And then I'm like, is that really what people's lives are like in Malibu? And so a lot of this record I was writing kind of, like, from, like, a really, like, just sort of, like, everyday life kind of perspective, like, reading my condo documents and trying to translate them into English, and worrying about taxes and my relationship and how hot it was in my apartment. And it's kind of like this strange con, you know, like, people think you have to sort of give this appearance that your life is sort of fabulous, or not even fabulous, maybe it's, like, tortured and crazy, and it's so romantic, and you're compelled to write these romantic, passionate songs and whatever, but really it was just like I couldn't read my condo documents because they were in French.
When you sing a song that has so much emotion to it, do you start to get upset, or do you have to disconnect yourself from that process, and it's just like, I'm playing a song?
Well, I think that, like, once it's recorded and it's being consumed by the masses, like, you know, there's some sort of, like, distance that happens between you and what you're doing now. Like, you're not writing that song for the first time, so the emotion that you were feeling the first time you wrote it, you know, every time you play that song after that moment, you know, once it's complete, you're really just reenacting that, and so it's like, it's in a way a bit like acting, or you know, like, so I guess some nights, you know, you're standing up on stage and you are imagining whatever it is that you were writing about, and it definitely feels, like, extremely, like, emotional and intense. And then some nights you're obsessing over the sound coming out of your monitor, and you're, you know, hating it, and you're just focusing on, like, oh, how do I, you know, what can I do after this song to get my sound guy's attention, to get the monitors sound better. Like, some nights you're just not as into it.
Do you ever step off the bus and you're like, I can't fucking do this today?
We always do it, but there's days where, like, you know, definitely where you're just kind of like, I'm tired, I don't know how I'm going to do it. It's not, I'm not going to do it. It's just like, I wonder what's going to happen when it's time for me to get on stage. Is it going to, but it does. You're standing at the side of the stage and you're listening to the, like, the last song before you go on, and the crowd starts screaming and the lights go down, and you're immediately, like, just, like, you know, your focus is right on what you're going to do.
Back to the tour schedule, is this like a plan of world domination?
It's amazing once you start, like, even achieving even very minimal success. It's amazing how, like, you can tour forever. It would take us years to finish touring if we keep doing the way we're doing it. But on this first tour, we were like, we have to do the promo anyway. Let's spread it out over 2 days, do like 500-600 seat venues, and just do multiple nights. And I think some people think we're a little crazy, and Sara and I have both been admitting that sometimes the whole seated thing is killing us because we want the energy and we want people standing up, but it's great for us because we're playing the songs calmly and slowly, and that's helping us really solidify them in our heads. And I think when we come back in the fall, it's going to be a really strong show. I find it so difficult to function on the road if I'm not healthy, and if I'm tired or hungover, it, like, ruins an entire week, not a day, not in the morning. It's not like, ooh, I'm having a bad morning because I'm hungover. It's like, because you don't get enough sleep, and then you've got press, and then you've got the in-store, and then you've got the show, and it's like, by the end of the day, it's like the whole day has been ruined, and then when you do fall asleep, you wake up the next day and you're groggy. So it's like, you know, kind of really, it's like a domino effect. It kind of affects everything. You're in close quarters with so many people that you start affecting their day if you're not on it, you know. And usually when people are really getting drunk and wasted all the time, they're not performing very often. So I don't want to come and be unpleasant. I don't want anyone to walk away and be like, God, those guys are awful, like, because we're all hungover and bitchy, and, like, that'd be terrible. That's a terrible impression to leave of yourself when you're not like that. If we were really like that, I suppose it would be fine. We could enhance it by drinking and being jerks, but I think that we'd like to have, and also the dry backstage sober thing,
I think why that's cool is because it weeds out the people that are just coming backstage for alcohol. Like,
Yeah.
after a show, it's like, our meet and greet last night was like 25 minutes because nobody can come back and drink, so they're just all like, hey, how's it going? You just see them do the scan, and there's no keg, and there's like,
Yeah, how was the
great,
show last
thanks
night?
It was amazing,
Yeah.
and what was great was that afterwards we got to meet all these people, have really good coherent conversations with them, and then they went home and we were in bed by midnight. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not like waste, and I don't know, it just feels real. It feels like much more real, and I think that's our band sort of thing. I mean, we're all master communicators, and you can't really be wasted to communicate. Like,
What can I say?
I don't think I'm a master at anything, but yeah, I don't think the whole sex, drugs, rock and roll thing has ever been appealing to us. Like, it happens to us all the time, or I'll meet people and they'll be like, yeah, well, that's what you guys are doing, and we're gay, but we don't want to be a part of that whole thing. And you're like, what whole thing? You're always battling, like, and I don't think that when you're on the outside of that, I don't think that you feel how often you have to battle. Like, only the people who are in that circle really understand, Hey, what? You're kicking my leg. Yeah.